My son said, "The greatest gift for our wedding is if you disappear from our family." True story. I was standing in my kitchen making coffee at 6:15 in the morning. The same coffee I have made every morning for 42 years. Same pot, same spoon, same blue ceramic mug my daughter gave me for Father's Day back when she was still in high school. The mug has a chip on the rim now. I never threw it away because she picked it out herself. We were at the mall and she was 13 and she said, "This one, Dad, this one looks like your eyes. Blue and cracked and a little stupid," she said. We laughed about that for years. That morning, I poured the coffee and sat down in my recliner. The house was quiet. Too quiet, but I had gotten used to that. My wife of 40 years left last spring. Not for another man, at least that is what she said. She said she just needed space, needed to breathe, needed to remember who she was without being someone's wife. I did not fight her. I should have fought her. But I was tired. 68 years old and tired in a way that sleep cannot fix. So I sat in my chair and looked at the sunlight coming through the window. The backyard needed mowing. The fence needed painting. The bird feeder was empty. These were the things I thought about. Small things. Manageable things. Then my phone rang. It was my son. My oldest. My boy. The one I taught to tie his shoes and drive a stick shift and throw a curveball that never broke the way he wanted it to.
He was 39 now, married to a woman named Claire who I never quite trusted, but I loved her because he loved her. That is what you do. You trust your children's judgment, even when your gut tells you not to. "Hey, Dad," he said. His voice was light, casual, like he was calling to talk about football or the weather. "Hey, buddy," I said. "What is going on?" He said, "We are having a small wedding thing next weekend, just a renewal thing. Claire and me, 10 years, low-key." I did not know they were renewing their vows, but that did not surprise me. Claire was always planning something. A party, a trip, a project. She had a way of keeping everyone busy. "I would love to come," I said. "Just tell me when and where." He was quiet for a second. I could hear him breathing. Then he said, "Well, that's kind of why I'm calling. We have been talking about it, and we think it would be better if you did not come." I thought I misheard him. I said, "What?" He said, "It's just a small thing. Intimate. Claire's parents are coming, her sister, a few friends, and we just think with everything with you and Mom being apart, it might be awkward, for everyone." I said, "Awkward for who?" He said, "Just awkward, Dad. You know how Mom gets. She's going to be there and we don't want any drama." I said, "I have never caused drama a single day in your life. I have shown up for everything, every game, every recital, every birthday, every holiday. I have never missed a single thing." He said, "I know, Dad, I know. But things are different now." I asked him if this was his idea or Claire's idea. He said it was their idea, together, that joint decision. He said it with a flatness that told me everything. He was reading from a script. She wrote the script. He was just the messenger. I did not yell. I wanted to yell, but I have never been a yeller. My father was a yeller. He broke things. He threw things. He made sure everyone in the house knew exactly how angry he was at all times. I swore I would never be that man. So I swallowed it. I pushed it down, where I push everything. I said, "Okay, buddy, if that is what you want." He said, "Thanks, Dad. I really appreciate you understanding." Then he hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand. The coffee was cold. The sunlight had moved across the floor. I thought about all the mornings I woke up at 4:30 to drive him to hockey practice before work. All the weekends I spent building that treehouse in the backyard even though I had no idea what I was doing, because the instructions were in German, and I had to figure it out by looking at the pictures. All the times I sat in the emergency room with him for a broken arm, a sprained ankle, a fever that would not break. All the times I pulled money out of savings I did not have to pay for his braces, his camp, his college application fees. I thought about the night before his wedding. We were standing in my garage, just the two of us. He was nervous. Scared, he said. What if he was not good enough? What if he could not make her happy? What if he failed the way his mother always said, "I failed"? I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, "Son, the only way you fail is if you stop trying. You show up every day, you listen, you put her first. And when you mess up, which you will, you say you are sorry and you mean it. That is all any of us can do. He hugged me. He cried a little. I did not cry, but I wanted to. Now he was telling me not to come to his vow renewal, his 10-year celebration, because my presence might make things awkward, because my ex-wife might feel uncomfortable, because I was now a problem to be managed rather than a father to be honored. I did not call him back. I did not text him. I just sat there. The next few days were strange. I went through the motions. Grocery store, pharmacy, walk around the block. I talked to no one. My daughter lives 3 states away. We talk once a week, sometimes less. She has her own life, her own husband, her own 2 little girls. I am a grandfather, but I feel like a stranger. The girls send me drawings in the mail sometimes, stick figures with big smiles. That is me, they say. That is Grandpa. I put them on the refrigerator even though I am the only one who sees them. On Thursday, Claire posted something on social media. I still have an account, even though I barely use it. I check it sometimes to see pictures of my grandkids. She posted a photo of an invitation. Gold lettering, white background.
Very elegant. It said, "Please join us as we renew our vows and celebrate 10 years of love and partnership." The date was that Saturday. The location was a vineyard about 2 hours from my house, a place I had never heard of. Then I saw the comments. Friends of theirs saying congratulations. Claire's mother saying, "So excited to celebrate with the whole family." And then a comment from my ex-wife. She wrote, "I am so proud of the man my son has become, so grateful to be included." Included. That word stayed with me. Included. Like it was a privilege. Like she had won something. Like I had lost something. I scrolled through the other comments. Someone named Jessica said, "Is your dad coming?" Claire replied, "No, he is not able to make it." Just a simple lie. Not able to make it. Not uninvited. Not told to stay away because my ex-wife might feel awkward. Just a clean little untruth wrapped in good manners. I closed the phone and put it in my pocket. I walked out to the garage. My truck was parked there. A 2012 Ford F-150. Nothing fancy. It gets me where I need to go. I got in and started the engine. I did not know where I was going. I just needed to move. I drove for about an hour, ended up at a diner off the highway, a place I used to take the kids when they were little. They had pancakes shaped like animals. My daughter always wanted the elephant. My son always wanted the dinosaur. I sat in a booth by myself and ordered black coffee. The waitress asked if I wanted anything else. I said no. She looked at me like she felt sorry for me. I hate that look. I sat there for 2 hours, thinking, remembering. I remembered the day my son was born. I was 29 years old, scared to death. The nurse handed him to me, and he was so small, so light, so fragile. I held him, and I promised I would protect him. I promised I would never let anything hurt him. I promised I would be there. I kept those promises for 39 years, and now here I was, sitting in a diner, drinking bad coffee, uninvited to my own son's celebration. I drove home as the sun went down. The house was dark. I did not turn on the lights. I just sat in the truck in the driveway for a long time. The garage door was closed. I could have opened it. I could have pulled in, but I did not. I just sat there, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. On Friday night, I called my daughter. She answered on the 3rd ring. She sounded distracted, busy. The girls were in the background screaming about something. I said, "Hey, sweetheart." She said, "Hey, Dad, what is up?" I said, "Have you talked to your brother?" She said, "Not today. Why?" I said, "He is renewing his vows tomorrow, and he told me not to come." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I know. He told me. I am sorry, Dad." I said, "Did you know about this before today?" She said, "He told me a few weeks ago. He asked me not to say anything." I said, "A few weeks?" She said, "Dad, I did not want to keep it from you, but he said he wanted to tell you himself."
I said, "He told me yesterday, 4 days after you knew." She did not say anything. I said, "Are you going?" She said, "I have to, Dad. The girls are flower girls.
Claire already bought the dresses. I said, I understand. She said, are you okay? I said, I am fine. You take care of those girls. Tell them Grandpa loves them. She said, I will. I love you, Dad. Then she hung up. I sat in the dark living room. The TV was off. The house was silent. I could hear the refrigerator humming. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking. I could hear my own breathing, slow and heavy. I thought about calling my ex-wife, asking her what she said to him, what she told him about me. But I already knew. She spent 40 years telling anyone who would listen that I was cold, distant, unable to connect. She said I worked too much. She said I did not talk enough. She said I was a good provider, but not a good partner. Maybe she was right. Maybe I did not talk enough. Maybe I worked too much. But I did it for them, for her, for the kids. I worked double shifts so they could have a house with a yard. I worked holidays so they could have presents under the tree. I worked until my hands bled and my back gave out so they would never know what it felt like to be hungry or scared or cold. And now I was the one who was not invited. Saturday came. I woke up at 5 in the morning. I made coffee. I sat in my chair. I watched the sun come up. I thought about driving to the vineyard anyway, just showing up, walking in, hugging my son, telling him I love him, forcing Claire to look me in the eye. But I did not, because I knew what would happen. I would be the villain. I would be the one causing drama. I would be the one who could not let go. So I stayed home. I mowed the lawn. I painted a section of the fence. I filled the bird feeder. I did small things with my hands, physical things, things that kept my mind busy. Every hour or so I would look at my phone. The photos started appearing around 2 in the afternoon. Claire posted a picture of the table settings, then a picture of the flowers, then a picture of the cake, then a picture of my son and my ex-wife hugging. She was crying. He was smiling. The caption said, "So blessed to have my mom by my side today." Not a word about his father. I scrolled through the rest of the photos. My daughter was there. The girls were there in their little white dresses. Everyone was smiling. Everyone looked happy. I was not in a single picture. I was not mentioned in a single comment. It was like I did not exist, like I had never existed. That night, I went to bed early. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. The house felt bigger than it ever had, empty and hollow and wrong. I thought about the day my son was born again, the way he fit in the curve of my arm, the way he looked up at me with those dark eyes, the way the nurse said, "You are a natural, Dad." I believed her. I thought I was a natural. I thought I was doing everything right. I must have been wrong. A week passed. Then 2. My son did not call. My daughter called once, but she was distracted again. The girls were sick. Someone had a fever. Someone lost a tooth. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. I asked her how the vow renewal was. She said it was nice. Then she changed the subject. I started to notice things. Small things. Things I had ignored for years. The way my son only called when he needed money. The way my daughter only called when she needed a babysitter. The way my ex-wife looked at me in the months before she left, like I was a piece of furniture she was tired of looking at. The way Claire always positioned herself between me and my son during family gatherings. The way my grandchildren were always too busy to talk to me on the phone. I had given them everything. Every dollar. Every hour. Every ounce of love I had. And now I was alone. On the 3rd week, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email. Not a text. An actual letter. The handwriting was my son's. I opened it with hands that were shaking. The letter said, "Dear Dad, I am writing to you because I think it is important to be honest. Claire and I have been talking, and we have decided that we need some space from you for a while. We love you, but your negativity and your inability to move on from Mom has become too much for us to handle. We think it would be best if you take some time to work on yourself.
We will reach out when we are ready. Please respect our boundaries.
Love your son. I read the letter 3 times. Then I read it again. Then I folded it and put it back in the envelope and set it on the kitchen table. I did not cry. I have not cried since I was a child. But I felt something break inside me. Something deep and central. A beam that had been holding up the whole structure of my life. It cracked and splintered, and then it was gone. I picked up the phone to call my daughter, but I did not dial. What would I say? Your brother said I am too negative. Your brother said I cannot move on. Your brother said I need to work on myself. She would say, I am sorry, Dad. She would say, give it time. She would say things will get better. But we both knew they would not. I spent the next few weeks in a fog. I stopped mowing the lawn. I stopped painting the fence. I stopped filling the bird feeder. I sat in my chair for hours watching nothing. The TV stayed off. The radio stayed off. I just sat there with my thoughts, and my thoughts were not kind. I started to remember things I had buried. The way my ex-wife used to whisper to the kids when she thought I could not hear. The way they would go quiet when I walked into the room. The way they learned to communicate with her in a language I was not part of. I thought it was just a mother-child thing, a bond I could never have because I was the father, the provider, the one who worked, the one who was gone. But now I see it differently. She was building a wall, slowly, brick by brick.
And I was helping her. I was handing her the bricks. I was saying, here, use this one, and this one, and this one. I was so busy providing that I forgot to be present. I was so busy paying for their lives that I forgot to live in them. That is the part that hurts the most. Not what they did, what I did not do. I could have said no to the overtime. I could have said no to the double shifts. I could have said, let's go to the park. Let's go to the beach. Let's just sit on the couch and watch a movie. But I did not. I said, I have to work. I have to provide. I have to make sure you have everything you need. And they did have everything. Everything except me. One night in late October, I was sitting in my chair when the doorbell rang. It was almost 9 o'clock, dark outside, cold. I was not expecting anyone. I got up slowly. My knees hurt. My back hurt. Everything hurt. I opened the door and my daughter was standing there, alone. No husband, no girls, just her. She looked tired, older than her age. She said, "Can I come in?" I stepped aside and she walked in. She looked around the living room, the dust on the tables, the mail piled up, the plant that had died because I forgot to water it. She did not say anything about any of it. She just sat down on the couch and put her face in her hands. I sat down next to her. I did not touch her. I waited. She said, "I am sorry, Dad." I said, "For what?" She said, "For everything. For not standing up for you, for not telling them they were wrong."
For being a coward. I said you were not a coward. She said I am. Claire told me if I said anything she would cut me off from the girls. She said she would not let them see me anymore, so I kept my mouth shut. I let them do this to you. I let them erase you. I said it is okay. She said it is not okay. It is not okay, and you know it. We sat there in the dark for a long time. The only light came from the street lamp outside. It made everything look blue and cold. She told me things I did not know. She told me that Claire had been planning this for years. The distance, the exclusion, the slow removal of me from their lives. She told me that my ex-wife was at their house 3 or 4 times a week, that she helped with the kids, that she cooked dinners, that she was building a new family, and I was not in it. She told me that my son had changed, that he was not the same person anymore, that Claire had him on a leash so short he could barely breathe, that he wanted to call me, that he wanted to see me, but every time he tried, Claire would make his life miserable. She would pick fights. She would threaten to leave. She would say things about me that were not true, until he started to believe them. I asked my daughter why she was telling me this now. She said because I am tired of pretending. I am tired of lying. I am tired of being afraid of Claire.
She is not my mother. She is not my family. You are my family. You are the only parent I have left that actually loves me.
I said your mother loves you. She said, my mother loves herself. She always has. Now was the moment. Not a phone call, not a letter, not a confrontation. Just my daughter sitting on my couch in the dark, telling me the truth I had been too blind to see for 40 years. My marriage was a lie. Not because of infidelity, not because of abuse, but because my ex-wife never wanted a partner. She wanted a provider. She wanted someone to pay the bills while she built a world that did not include him. And I walked right into it. I handed over my paycheck and my time and my youth and my health, and in return I got a chair in a dark living room and a phone that never rings. My daughter stayed until midnight. She told me she was going to start coming over every week. She told me she would bring the girls. She told me she did not care what Claire said or what her brother said or what anyone said. I was her father, and she was done letting other people tell her how to love me. I wanted to believe her, but I have been a fool before. She left. I locked the door. I went back to my chair. I sat there until the sun came up. I thought about my son, my boy, the one I taught to tie his shoes, the one I taught to throw a curveball, the one who used to fall asleep on my chest while I watched late-night TV. He was gone. Not dead, but gone. Replaced by a stranger who sent letters about boundaries and space and working on myself. The next morning, I did something I have never done before. I got in my truck and I drove to the vineyard. Not the one where the vow renewal happened. A different one. One my ex-wife and I visited on our 25th anniversary. We sat on a bench overlooking the vines. She held my hand. She said, "We made it. 25 years. That is longer than most." I said, "We are lucky." She said, "Yes, we are lucky." She was lying. Or maybe she was not lying. Maybe she meant it in that moment. Maybe for one afternoon she actually believed it. But moments pass, feelings change, and people who promise to love you forever sometimes wake up one day and decide that forever ended yesterday. I sat on that bench for an hour. The vines were bare. The leaves had fallen. Everything looked dead and brown and cold. I pulled out my phone and looked at the pictures from the vow renewal again. My ex-wife hugging my son, my daughter holding her girls, Claire smiling at the camera. Everyone so happy. Everyone so whole. No room for me. I drove home. I parked in the driveway. I went inside. I made coffee. I sat in my chair. The house was quiet. It is always quiet now. My daughter has come over twice since that night. She brought the girls once. They ran around the backyard and climbed the treehouse and asked for juice and left fingerprints on the windows. It was wonderful and terrible. Wonderful because I love them. Terrible because I know they will forget me. They will grow up and Claire will tell them stories about their grandfather. Stories that are not true. Stories that make me the villain, and I will be too old to fight back. Too tired. Too broken. My son has not called. He has not texted. He has not written another letter. I do not expect him to. He made his choice. He chose her. That is what sons do sometimes. They choose their wives over their fathers. I understand it. I do not like it, but I understand. What I do not understand is the cruelty. The careful, slow, methodical removal of a father from his own family. The way they did it with smiles and hugs and "we love you, but we need space." The way they made me feel like I was the problem. Like my presence was a burden. Like my love was a weight they did not want to carry. I am 72 years old now. I do not know how many years I have left. 5, 10, 15 if I am lucky. I do not know what those years will look like. Maybe my daughter will keep her promise. Maybe she will come over every week. Maybe the girls will grow up knowing me. Maybe my son will wake up one day and realize what he lost. Maybe Claire will leave him and he will come crawling back, and I will have to decide whether to open the door.
Or maybe none of that will happen. Maybe I will sit in this chair until the day I die. Alone. Quiet. Forgotten. The coffee pot will run out of water. The refrigerator will stop humming. The clock on the wall will stop ticking. And someone will find me days later because the mail piled up. And the neighbors started to wonder.
I am not telling you this story because I want your pity. I do not want your pity. Pity does nothing for a man my age. I am telling you this story because I need someone to know. I need someone to hear it. I need someone to understand that a man can give everything he has to his family and still end up alone in a dark house with a phone that never rings. My son said the greatest gift for their wedding was if I disappeared from their family. So I did. I disappeared. Not because I wanted to, but because there was no other choice. I sit in this chair now and I think about that day in the garage, the night before his wedding. Him crying. Me telling him to show up every day. To listen. To put her first. I gave him that advice and I meant it. I just did not know that putting her first meant putting me last. I did not know that showing up for her meant never showing up for me again. Maybe that is the real betrayal. Not what they did. What I taught them to do. I taught my son to put his wife above everyone else. I taught him to build a wall around his marriage and keep everyone out. I just did not know I would be on the other side of that wall. The coffee is cold again. The sun is going down. The bird feeder is empty. I should fill it. I should get up and walk to the garage and get the bag of seed. But I do not. I just sit here, watching the light fade, listening to the silence. My daughter said she would come over this weekend. She said she would bring the girls. I hope she does. But I have stopped hoping too hard. Hope is a dangerous thing for a man like me. It makes you believe things that are not true. It makes you trust people who will leave. So I sit, and I wait, and I remember. That is all that is left. That is all there ever was.